Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And unfortunately, my heart-driven city that is so beloved over the July 4th weekend is back in the news again, not for good news, but for bad news. And there is starting to be a historical presentation that is repeating itself in Chicago each and every year over these holiday weekend events or holiday celebrations, supposedly, like Memorial Day weekend, like the 4th of July, like Labor Day weekend. These are times when you're supposed to be gathering with family and friends and exuding an essence and presence of love to each other, laughing, joking, enjoying each other's time together, which is your most important commodity, your time. But what you're finding out in Chicago is that as a result of these national holidays, when people are supposed to get together under a positive code, it is turned, these holiday events or weekends are turning into decimation, destruction, and death. Yes, shootings, gun violence, homicides. In Chicago, it is almost every year during the Memorial Day weekend, the 4th of July time period, and of course Labor Day weekend, there have been too many issues of people getting harmed and hurt instead of building love, a harmonious relationship with your loved ones and friends. Is turning into a instead of a celebration, is turning into a gun violence, homicide-driven event. And this time in Chicago, and I hate to bring it up, but I'm going to keep this in the forefront of everybody's mind, that this has to stop. This is affecting tourism. This is affecting large people wanting to go on vacation to Chicago, let alone moving and living in Chicago. This is affecting national conventions coming to Chicago, this level of violence. And Brandon Johnson needs to do something about it. There is so much going on in Chicago that it is falling apart, 1 decibel, 1 period at a time. And I have to do this story. There were, in Chicago crime, there were at least 45 people shot, 4 killed over the July 4th weekend. And I'm not going to go through all the 45 shootings, but I'm going to mention a few of them, and I'm going to mention them in ad nauseum, because I want to make a specific point about this needs to stop. The level of gun violence, we're going to lose an entire generation of individuals due to uneducatedness, due to their inhumane reality that these young people are living in, the helplessness and hopelessness, the cavalier essence and presence of life, and unfortunately, most of these people are people of color. We're talking young black folks. So let's get into what is happening in Chicago, and Chicago is falling apart, 1 decibel at a time. The only thing that I can compete with Chicago with the level of violence are 2 places: Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and of course the entire state of Florida. These places are running neck and neck for this over preponderance of violence on mankind that is leading to death and destruction every time we turn the news on. So let's go. At least 45 people had been shot, 4 fatally, during the 4th of July weekend in Chicago, which it started on the 3rd, which is Thursday. It was that Thursday, July 3rd, that went, and July 4th was on Friday and went all the way to Sunday the 6th. There were shootings each and every day. The victims of these shootings ranged in age from as young as 16 to as old as 52. Now, when I give you some of these stat reports, these crime reports, look at some of the common themes. People of color and also young people, and also most of them were young black men. What we know, Chicago police have reported over 30 shooting incidences since around 5 p.m. On July 3rd, that Thursday, all the way up through Sunday morning. The 4 people killed included a 16-year-old girl, a 36-year-old man, a 46-year-old man, and a 52-year-old man. So we got a 16-year-old girl and then 3 adult men. The shooting incidences included 2 incidences in which at least 4 people were shot. 7, so here we go. Let's talk about, let me give you some of the crime stats that the Chicago police, and remember, the Chicago police are understaffed by at least 1,000 police officers. And while all these shootings and gun violence and these homicides are taking place, where is Black Lives Matter? It's amazing when it's black on black crime, you don't see anybody protesting, burning down buildings, looting, being all angry. This black on black crime is decimating many of our urban cities each and every day. So they say 7 people were shot in the 4800 block of South Justine Street in the back yards of a neighborhood late on Friday night. The victims included 4 women and 3 men between the ages of 21 to 42. 4 people in another place. 4 people were shot in the 2700 block of South California Boulevard early Saturday morning in Little Village. The victims included a 32-year-old man, a 26-year-old man, a 25-year-old man, who all were listed in critical condition. A 33-year-old man was shot and listed in fair condition. Look at those ages: 32, 26, 25, all 33. All these people are in the beginning stages of their lives and have to bear witness to a war zone taking place in the city of Chicago. There were other violent crimes that didn't include shootings. There was one where a woman was charged in connection with the stabbing of 3 children, one fatally, and an arson in Logan Square on that Friday. Late that Saturday night, a 56-year-old man was killed during a fight on a downtown CTA platform. So we're talking about public safety here. We're talking about the L train. CTA is the bus line. So just when you think that crime cannot affect you, it is not a barrier based on zip code, suburb versus city, race, creed, or color. This is a real issue with public safety. People use public transportation in large cities like New York, Chicago, and even places here in St. Louis on an everyday basis. They want to leave their homes intact, and they want to return home intact. It also says that where else are we at? On Friday, July 4th, a 47-year-old man was shot in his right flank while riding on a bicycle in the 3400 block of West Cermak. He was listed in serious condition. This is a guy riding a bicycle. So we get a guy accosted on the CTA platform, a guy riding a bike. Look at where these are just normal things that people are doing every day, walking to the store, riding a bike, and they are being shot like we are in a third world country, like we're in Beirut or a war zone down in the Gaza Strip or the Ukraine and Russia war. This is happening in the heartland of America, in Chicago. Another on July 4th, a 20-year-old man was shot after being involved in an argument while driving, and he suffered a graze to his left eye in the 9700 South Harvard block. He was listed in good condition. A 15-year-old man was found unresponsive in the 3400 block of West 62 place with a gunshot wound to his back. This guy died at the scene. You had a 33-year-old woman who was outside in the 1300 block of North Springfield, and she was shot in her right foot. A 38-year-old woman was shot in the buttocks when someone in a dark sedan opened fire in the 8500 block of South Rhodes. She was listed in good condition. Now, all of these people are just doing normal, everyday things. And they're not having confrontations with people. You can't even walk through the street. A 35-year-old man was shot in his right thigh, and a 16-year-old girl was shot in the throat in the 1200 block of East 83rd Street. The man was listed in good condition, but unfortunately, the 16-year-old girl died. Now, just think if that's your daughter, your sister, your loved one. You had another episode where 7 people were shot when 2 gunmen opened fire into a crowd in the 4800 block of South Justine Street. 42-year-old man and a 25-year-old woman were listed in critical condition. A 21-year-old woman, a 21-year-old man, a 29-year-old man, and a 25-year-old man were listed in serious condition. All of these people, this issue with open carry, and not saying they have that in the state of Illinois, but there are way too many guns that are on the street. 4 people were shot when an SUV drove up and someone inside opened fire into a parked car in the 2700 block of South California Boulevard. A 32-year-old man, a 26-year-old man, and a 25-year-old man were all listed in critical condition. There was another one where a 46-year-old man was inside his car in the 800 block of North Cambridge Avenue when he was shot multiple times in the back. He died at the scene, and 1 person was in custody. Another 47-year-old man was shot in the abdomen in the 2600 block of South Central Park Avenue. He took himself to the hospital and later died. Daniel Alvarado, who was 20 years old, of Chicago, was arrested and charged with the victim's murder on July 8th when that man died. Daniel Alvarado, 20 years old. Look at all of these young people and how they are destroying their lives either by committing a heinous crime or is the recipient of one. And we're talking about first world United States of America. We're talking about where the first black president came from, Barack Obama. On Sunday, July 6th, a 41-year-old man was shot by someone on a motorbike who drove up and opened fire, hitting the man in the chest in the 700 block of East 60th Street. The victim took himself to the hospital and was listed in critical condition. Then you had multiple 19-year-old men who sustained gunshot wounds. A 19-year-old man sustained 2 gunshot wounds to his chest and 3 gunshot wounds to his right leg in the 9600 block of South Brennan Avenue. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition. 2 men, 25 and 27, were found shot around 10:30 p.m. in the 5200 block of West Ferdinand Street. The 27-year-old was listed in critical condition. You had another 25-year-old who was shot in the thigh around 10:30 on the first block of North Laurel Avenue. I'm bringing all of this up ad nauseum. I know it was a lot, and most of us don't want to talk about it. It's depressing, but we have to make folks aware of this, even naming the streets. Just think if you have loved ones like I do who still live in Chicago and what they have to combat each and every day just to do normal life stuff, going to the grocery store, going to work, going to a family outing. I mean, it has reached a point in Chicago, I do not go to any public parks or events. You can't even go and have an event in your backyard on the south side and west side of Chicago because you never know when gunfire is going to erupt. Who would want to be a police officer at this time in Chicago? This has to be the most stressful, underpaid job, non-respected job out today. And as I said before, Chicago police department is down 1,000 police officers. How are they going to make that number up with this amount of violence? And what is it doing to the psychological presence on police officers? They're going to be suffering from PTSD and need psychological therapy out of the gazooah, no different than the recipients or the victims of these crimes. This has to stop. This is a complete panacea of inhumane, non-feeling individuals that are causing chaos and disruption throughout the entire city. As I said, this is going to affect tourism. Who is going to want to bring a convention to Chicago? Chicago is down 50% down in the heartland, the heartbeat of Chicago, Michigan Avenue, the Magnificent Mile, the South and West Loop. They are down 50% commercial real estate vacancies. Businesses are leaving, just like they're leaving in California due to assaults, gun violence, property damage, looting, carjacking. We are in America. I'm going to repeat this over and over again. And this is happening every single year in Chicago. And the loss of life is at a premium. What is this doing to the hospital system, the emergency room? I mean, they have to gear up for any of these holidays, these emergency room physicians, these trauma surgeons. So you take public safety, the police force, the fire department, then the medical system. They have to gear up for this. Because they have expectations that it's going to be a war zone in Chicago every holiday weekend. And that's antithetical to what the whole idea of celebrating Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day is supposed to be a gathering of love, respect, and honoring those who are still alive and even those that have passed. And what is it turning into? It's these holiday weekends are turning into death chambers. And you're seeing that it doesn't matter what your age is, what your creed, your color, but this is almost like there is a civil war or an inner war taking place in many of our large urban cities, but especially in Chicago. And I put some of this onus on the Mayor Brandon Johnson. I don't think he's done a great job. I put some of this onus on President Barack Obama. I think he's done absolutely nothing for black folks, nothing for black folks in the city of Chicago. I think when he was in his 8 years of office, he did not do anything for black folks. His representation was only in physical form, in nature at best. Even Michelle Obama, who's from Chicago, they haven't done anything. You haven't heard a thing about them since they have left office. Oprah Winfrey, who made all her money in Chicago and her fame with Oprah Show, haven't heard anything. Where are they? Where is Michael Jordan? Where did he gain all of his honor? In Chicago as the Chicago Bulls, first black billionaire athlete. They could pool their resources, not only financially, but their celebrity, and start a nonprofit for gun violence prevention. But they haven't done anything. They are off in Hawaii. They are off in California. They are off on their yachts. And these young people in Chicago, especially people of color, are supposed to be looking up to these individuals who don't give a damn about them. And the number of fatherless homes is at a premium. This is a clear indication that we have several pillars in our society that are falling apart morally and ethically. Fatherless homes, the opioid crisis, the homelessness crisis, inept inner city public schools, the level of gun violence is at a premium, the level of inhumanity is at a premium, and we have to do something about it. This happens every year, every single year. There is an uptick in the number of people being shot, harmed, and or killed in Chicago, and it needs to stop. People should be tired of all of this. Not only are the victims going to garner PTSD, but as I said, the police officers, the firemen, the medical staffs at these emergency rooms are going to have been inundated with emergencies during these holiday weekends. Think about the trauma surgeons and nurses. They're not getting any sleep, and then they're seeing all this destruction of young people. What do you think? How do you think that has to impact a nurse, a doctor, to see a 12-year-old, 14-year-old who has had multiple gunshot wounds come into their emergency room? It has to be heartfelt and somewhat sickening. So your medical staff is being strained, the police force is being strained, the fire department is being strained, family members are being strained. There is PTSD across the entire board. We talk about the Hamas war in the Gaza Strip. We talk about the Ukraine and Russia war that's going on, but there is a war going on in the city of Chicago. They don't call Chicago Chirac for nothing. Cities like Philadelphia are neck and neck right behind Chicago in the amount of violence. The entire state of California, Atlanta, Georgia is having its issues with the amount of violence. This needs to stop. We need to manifest our truth in a positive, God-fearing, and righteous way. And if not, there are two places that you're going to find these individuals. The victims, unfortunately, will end up at the hospital, and if they're lucky, they can stay alive and recover. If they're unlucky, they're going to end up deceased and at a gravesite. The other ones who commit these crimes are going to end up in the penitentiary and or possibly losing their lives due to gun violence. All of this kind of exuding this negativity out into the spirit in the city of Chicago is a terrible thing. Please tell me what you think. We need to change this. I feel for the people in Chicago. Here in St. Louis, they just had 65,000 people who were 7-day Adventists for their international conference was in St. Louis for 10 days. With this amount of violence that's taking place and it reaching its national news, do you think, and this was 7-day Adventists from all around the world, from Africa, from Indonesia, from China, from the Philippines, with the kind of news stories that they're hearing about Chicago, who would want to bring a national or international convention to Chicago? What corporate company would want to place its headquarters in Chicago? The loss of life is at a premium, and we need to do something about it as people. Let's galvanize our own communities and spread love and appreciation, mentorship. But Chicago is headed in the wrong direction. It is a war zone. Tell me what you think. This has been a Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth.